Yeah, oh yeah. Get that in, Randy's using the men's room. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming tonight to the Smithfield Town Council meeting, Tuesday, May 21st, 2024. There was one vote taken in executive session. The council unanimously voted to approve the employment agreement of Deputy Police Chief Eric Nolan to Chief. So that's some exciting news. Sorry, second. We'd like to have a prayer. Heavenly Father, we come to you today asking for your guidance, wisdom, and support as we begin this meeting. Help us engage in meaningful discussion, allow us to grow closer as a group, nurture the bonds of community. Amen. Amen. Let's look to the flag, please.
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Emergency evacuation and health notification.
Thank you, Council President. There's two main exits from the Town Council chambers. To the left of the stage, up the stairs will take you out the back of the building. On the back of the council chambers to your right, the stairs will take you out the front of the building. Just past that on the right, it's a men's facility. Up the stairs to the left is a ladies' facility. Please do not use the elevator in time of emergency.
Thank you, sir. Presentations. We have a presentation tonight with a Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Task Force Recommendation Report.
Good evening, council members. Thank you for the time this evening. Appreciate it. As you might know, my name is Stan Dorsey, one of the town representatives on the current council, and have been in front of this body before. But I think last time we met, it was probably over a year ago, here as a We did a working session, I believe, and then we came back and made a report to this group, I believe in November. And guidance out of that report, I believe it was from you, Councilman Ionati, for us to kind of go back and come back with a more formal suggestion on sort of where the work of the council, where the task force that was established.
Excuse me, can you just put the microphone a little bit closer to your mouth?
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. It's got to pick up on the video.
Oh, okay. Sorry about
TV.
Is that better?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, apologies. And so we're back here today to present to you some of our suggestions for sort of what the next steps might be for what initially was established as a task force, as you might remember, based on some of the events that the town experienced several years ago. And there have been several incidents in that time since. But I do think there was a desire for us to go back and kind of come back with a more formal approach for what might be next. An approach that's more inclusive, more accountable. And so that's where we are today. Hopefully you've all seen and had a chance to read this and check it out. So my first time presenting, so I'm not going to go word for word through this. How long do I have?
As long as you, your presentation, thank you.
Okay, I'll take it from here then. So I'm going to go through this in general and just kind of share some of the highlights of what this proposal pulls together. But as you can see, the proposal is really for us to transition from a task force that was established in the very immediate aftermath of a specific event to a standing committee that would be report into the committee. So we would serve at the pleasure of the committee. We would report into the committee on a regular basis, sort of addressing that accountability issue we had talked about before. And also want to take the opportunity to kind of tighten up the focus of the group a little bit. So this committee would serve, I'm just going to read from here, right? The committee would serve in an advisory role to the council, but we'd also operate independently. We'd establish our own priorities, set our own goals, and we would govern our own operations. And the committee essentially would be going forward would exist as a resource group, right? A collaborative resource group that could be available to the service of the town council, to other government entities in town, and to other businesses and non-governmental entities in town as well. So the goals of this committee, as we talk about here, would be really threefold. Number one, promoting education about issues of inclusivity and equity in the town of Smithfield. Number two, building greater awareness about those issues, how they affect different residents of the community. And then number three, encouraging civic engagement for folks to get involved and connect with one another to create a more inclusive town of Smithfield, right? The committee would then pursue these, and obviously we working collaboratively with the town council on anything that we come up with, right? So we're a little further down to that. Part of our goal would be to provide feedback to the town council and support you all to effectively understand and assess and address any issues of equity or inclusion that come up either to the committee, to other town groups, et cetera. Promote an understanding of the diverse cultures and communities within the town and the surrounding areas. Provide recommendations where suitable for town policies and programming that support diversity and inclusion. And developing and implementing strategies that help promote inclusivity and equity in Smithfield. And lastly, we would work to encourage and support belonging, collaborative initiatives and advocacy. So the next page kind of gives you a little bit of a sense of what that might look like. So if you're talking about our scope of work, the first item on that list is an assessment. This is something that was sort of at the core of our previous group. We did put together a RFP for an assessment, which would sort of a general equity assessment across the town to get a sense of sort of what opportunities are out there where we might want to focus our work to help us be more focused in the initiatives we undertake. That was brought before the council. I don't remember the exact time and date. Because as we did the work on it, it became clear that it was going to require some funding. So we did come before the council for funding, and that was not granted to us. And so that kind of put us in a tricky position from the start. I think we've brought this issue to the council before. And sort of, I think in my view, as a town, as a member of that group, once that decision occurred, once we didn't get the funding to really take that next step and do the audit, I feel like the group kind of started spinning its wheels a little bit, quite honestly. And so I continue to believe that this is an important element of whatever we would do going forward, this assessment. It's something that's been taken up by a couple of other towns locally. North Smithfield's done something similar, as has Barrington, and in Massachusetts, one of the models that I really think work well for us took place in Wayland, Massachusetts. They actually did get the funding they were looking for. I believe in that instance, it was $100,000. I don't recall, I know Randy obviously was responsible for doing a lot of the work, but that outreach, that RFP, we weren't asking for that much money. But, you know, it wasn't far off from that, but that's not what we're here to talk about today. I think the important point there is, I think the success of this group going forward will be dependent. It'll be important for us to have the support of the council at whatever level. I think that's just critical. Because if it's not really a mutual partnership, I don't, you know, and it's evident, and if you look in the towns where this has worked, that partnership is essential to the success of the group. It's very obvious in the Wayland example. I really encourage you to take a look at that if you get a chance. They're currently in the stages of putting out an RFP of their own to try and get, I think they're down to 4 finalists, I think, and trying to figure out what the next steps are going to be with that. And the town of Andover, Massachusetts as well has successfully executed one of these. And so another good example to look at to kind of see like the types of questions that might be asked or something like that. Partnership is going to be a really important part of this. Working with places like the Smithfield Library, the previous group we already had, meetings with Bryant University. We had meetings with the Neighborhood Health Plan group up in the northern part of town. But there are lots of opportunities for us to partner across the town to understand what the needs might be and how we could serve this group. And events would be an essential part of this as well. I think figuring out all this, again, trickles down, in my view, from what we might find out in that assessment. And then allows us to kind of move forward and set up the opportunities that we think are ahead of us in terms of these types of events, whether they're community events like you've seen, like we just did this past weekend. This particular one wasn't sponsored by that group, but in previous years, there was a chocolate walk event that we had at the middle school over the weekend. I think this year it was going to be sponsored by the school department, but in previous years, the task force did sponsor it. Events like that, but also things like community discussions, forums, partnering with the library. And there's a lot of issues that have come up in this town that are on the edges and the fringes of equity and inclusion. And, you know, the view of this group, at least, and the town members who are on it with me, are that there's a role for this committee to play in helping to, maintain an inclusive environment in this town. And so as those issues arise and the town and this group, the committee going forward, become aware of it, there'll be an opportunity for us to then engage with either this group, or let's say it's a school issue, we could be an available partner to the school committee, for example. I mean, there are obviously the school committee did its own audit several years ago, but this group would be available to the other areas in town that are looking for guidance, looking for counsel, looking to maybe put some things into action based on things that are happening. So I'm going to jump over, just in the interest of time, to the structure of the committee, because I think that's a really important change we're proposing here in terms of what's different between how it's currently constituted and going forward. Going forward, we're proposing that this group be comprised of primarily voting members of the town of Smithfield, 7 to be specific. Whereas today, I think there are 3 of us who are on the council, and the majority of the council actually is composed of employees of the town of Smithfield from the different various departments, right? So this would be a big change for us. I think it will allow us to really find the people who are really almost volunteering and invested in this group and bringing that to the table when they come to do the work. If you're a town, there certainly you all are town paying residents, 2 of the members who were on the council previously. But going forward, I think the idea here is to have 7 committed members who are committed to a specific term, adding that structure to it, giving us the time we need to because this is not like overnight work. The work that these types of groups do, it takes time. And the proposed terms here would allow those individuals to sit in those roles for several years, understanding that they're on a certain time limit and have that time to get their work done. We would also invite adjunct committee members as well. So we would want to have someone from a representative of the town youth, and also a representative from the Smithfield business community. So neither of those would need to be voters in town. Actually, we're proposing that the youth member would be under 18, so they wouldn't be a voting member. But the town member might be someone from the other one would be someone from the business community in town. And so that would comprise the structure of the group. And then we would also still have an opportunity through liaisons to connect with the different town departments, but there wouldn't be a dedicated role for any town employee on this particular role. So that kind of addresses too, I think there were concerns previously about the commitment of town resources to this on a regular basis. this approach would also address that. These would be, I suppose that town member could certainly volunteer to be on this, but the idea here is these would be members of the town of Smithfield that will be on this. Let's see. And then we would go through a standard process for applications and qualifications, just like we did this time around. But I just want to reiterate, I think that initial committee structure, moving it to 7 town members who are really raising their hand, stepping into this work, fully aware of what the work is about, fully aware of what they're trying to accomplish, want to accomplish. Well, I think, in my view, will certainly change the energy and the passion around the group going forward and make it more effective. So I'm moving forward to, I don't know what page this is, but I want to talk a little bit about the operating principles of this group. I think that's a really important thing. These are probably somewhere in the midst of the work we were doing previously, but in this proposal, we chose to really be explicit about these operating principles because we felt like, it was important for us to establish not just kind of what we want to do, but how we go about it. And these principles are really designed to make it clear that the goal of this group is to be a partner. The goal of this group is to be transparent, and the goal of this group is to be accountable. And I know that was certainly a concern of the previous group, and as a member of that group, I can't really rebut that, quite honestly. I think we were not as clear on what we wanted to accomplish, and we've owned up to that, and I think we're trying to establish more accountability in this structure so that we can be held to it going forward. But accountability is huge. Transparency is huge. There's certain, obviously, there's laws that require us to be accountable to a certain level, but I think there needs to be a concerted effort by this group to be even more accountable, more transparent going forward, so there's no questions about how the group's operating. There's no questions about the motives of the group and what we want to do. There's no questions about the whys behind what we're doing. And so I think that's a really important piece of how we will move forward. Again, the partnership piece is the other, is another big part of it. Just, there would need to be a spirit of trust, I think, between council, this group, the town, that this committee has the best interest of all town residents at heart. I think there were some questions about whether that was maybe true before. Certainly in my mind, and I'm pretty sure in the mind of my fellow current task force members, that was always our focus. But again, I think the transparency of it would be important to put forward and to go into this work really for the reasons I mentioned, on that first page, which is promoting education, building awareness, and encouraging civic engagement. Not telling anybody how they need to show up, not telling anybody how they need to act or behave, or they need to, change their behaviors. That's not what this group was about. This group was intended to be about, I'll go back to it again, promoting education, building awareness, and encouraging that civic engagement. If, by chance, as we do those things, people's points of view, people's actions and behaviors change, so be it. But I just want to be really clear about that. That's not what the goal of this group is, because I do understand that there were some concerns about that. This group was out as an agent to change people's behavior and how people act. And that's certainly not my view, and as far as I understand, not in the view of my fellow members in that group, what the goal was. And so I think it's important for us to establish these operating principles up front so we can be held accountable to them if there are concerns that we're going astray with those principles. And so that's really sort of the crux of what this proposal is. There's more detail on the subsequent pages in this, including examples of some of the other towns in Rhode Island that have proceeded in a similar fashion and have established groups of this nature, some as a direct response to community activities like ours was initially. But I think this group truly believes that there's unknown work for us to do. It's work that done the right way can add a lot of value to make this a welcoming community for everybody. And so,
Excellent. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. I have an announcement, new business item F concerning the Greenville Library. That's going to be tabled tonight and placed on the June 4th agenda due to illness. I'm not sure if anyone's here just for that, but I wanted to let you know that. Moving on to item B, presentations, receipt of the Budget and Financial Review Board's recommended fiscal year 2025 budget.
Thank you, Council President. Real quickly, the Budget and Financial Review Board officially submitted their budget as their portion of the budget process to the Town Council on May 15th formally, and within receipt of the budget publicly with the town this evening, and that's just what the agenda item is. There will be a work session between the Budget and Financial Review Board and the Town Council on May 29th, and later in the agenda, the Town Council will be scheduling the public hearing on the budget, which will be June 18th.
Okay, great, thank you. I'd like to personally thank the Budget and Financial Review Board for their hard work. Tremendous job they've done, and I look forward to that work session.
Yeah, I'd like to echo that as well. I think they've done a great job. We have a great Budget and Financial Review Board. I've attended many of their meetings, and they're just, they impress me more every single time.
I'll third that.
Moving on to minutes, move that the minutes of the April 29th, 2024 work session meeting be approved as recorded.
So moved.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I'm going to abstain, I wasn't there. Item B, move that the minutes of the May 7th, 2024 executive session meeting held pursuant to consider, discuss, and act upon matters pursuant to Rhode Island General Laws, Section 42-46-5, A2, existing litigation, Joseph Ritchie and Custom Construction Services, LLC, versus Town of Smithfield et al., be approved as recorded and sealed.
So moved.
Seconded.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Item C, move that the minutes of the May 7th, 2024 open session meeting be approved as recorded.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
7, consider, discuss, and act upon the following possible appointments. There are none. Public hearing. A, scheduled public hearing on June 18th, 2024 on the proposed fiscal year 2024 budget.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on that? All those in favor?
Aye.
Item B, schedule a public hearing on June 18th, 2024 to consider and act upon amendments to the Code of Ordinances, Chapter 11, entitled Boards and Commissions, sponsored by Councilmember Rachel Toppy and Michael Iannotti.
So moved.
Seconded.
Yeah, the purpose of this is,
No.
the purpose of this is to adopt a Smithfield Code of Ethics, a Code of Ethics to supplement the Rhode Island Code of Ethics. This is part of it's a series of proposals to promote good government, which includes the enhanced public comment ordinance, of which there is a public hearing scheduled for our next meeting, and also an amendment to the Town Council Rules of Procedure to encourage greater public input to our decisions, which we will be discussing later tonight. The Smithfield Code of Ethics would prohibit a public official from using his office to benefit himself, a family member, or a business associate. A board member who received anything of value from an applicant before that board in excess of $100 in the prior 18 months would not be able to vote on an application. This kind of provision applies mostly to quasi-judicial boards, such as the Planning Board and the Zoning Board. The town manager or department directors would be prohibited from testifying as experts, except as part of their official duties. Elected or appointed officials would be prohibited from using their position to gain an advantage over someone with which they had a financial dispute. And finally, an elected or appointed official would be prohibited from intimidating, threatening, or retaliating against a person who files an ethics complaint against them or who notifies the news media about possible ethics violations. So as I said, this would be, this code of ethics would be in addition to the code of ethics that we now follow as well, the Rhode Island Code of Ethics.
We have a second. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Item C, schedule a public hearing on June 18th, 2024 to consider and act upon zoning ordinance amendments to Article 2 entitled Definitions.
So moved.
Seconded.
Any discussion on these? Ones? All those in favor?
Aye.
D, schedule a public hearing on June 18th, 2024 to consider and act upon zoning ordinance amendments to Article 3 entitled Nonconformance.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Item E, schedule a public hearing on June 18th, 2024 to consider and act upon zoning ordinance amendments to Article 4 entitled Use Regulations.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Item F, schedule a public hearing on June 18th, 2024 to consider and act upon zoning ordinance amendments to Article 6 entitled Supplementary Regulations.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Item G, schedule a public hearing on June 18th, 2024 to consider and act upon zoning ordinance amendments to Article 10 entitled Administration, Enforcement, and Relief.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Conduct a public hearing to consider and act upon the approval of outdoor seating and bar service for the Orchard Grill, Inc., DBA The Orchard Grill, located at 132 Pleasant View Avenue, as applied, subject to compliance with all state regulations and local ordinances. I declare this public hearing open. If anyone from the public would like to come up and speak, just leave your name and address, please.
Deb Carter, I'm at 127 Pleasant View Avenue. My exit and entrance is directly across from the Orchard Grill. Then Orchard Grill has a driveway on this side and this side. So everybody, the three driveways coming in and out. So for a safety reason, it's already bad there because when I take a left, you have to, there's a big corner. You can't see they're coming. So once you make a decision to go, you really have to go. You can't hesitate. So I don't oppose so much, but I think before anybody approves it, they should take a look at that traffic situation. I just think it's dangerous. I don't want, I have sisters that won't even take the left there, they go right. I have family, everybody has trouble getting out left. I'm just worried about the traffic
Thank you.
and the safety.
Okay, thank you.
Can we have the Traffic Safety Commission
I was
look at
just
that?
going to say that, yeah. As the liaison for traffic safety, I wouldn't mind, ma'am, if I could catch you at the end of the meeting. I can give you and help you fill out that form for traffic safety, and we can get the process going together. Of course.
Anyone else want to speak? No. We'll close the public hearing.
Move passage.
Seconded.
Lynn, is everything in order? It is. Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Item I, conduct a show cause hearing to consider, discuss, and act upon the possible suspension, revocation, or other sanction regarding the listed mobile food truck licenses due to non-renewal or non-compliance with the conditions of renewal. This is for Farm to Sandwich and On the Road Cafe. This is a show cause hearing, so just like a public hearing? We'll do. It's not, okay. So is anyone here from Farm to Sandwich or On the Road Cafe tonight? What's the status?
So you still haven't received anything from either?
How late are we? They've been notified?
The license is expired, so they have no license.
How many prior violations or issues? None.
My follow-up question would be, how long have they been in town?
I don't think they're in town. I just think they get their license.
How long have they had, like,
Yeah.
the license, have they
Fairly new.
fairly new? So, okay, there wouldn't be a lot of time for them to accumulate anything.
Is the Farm to Sandwich, is that food truck for Bryant?
I believe so. I'm not 100%
Yeah.
about that.
Okay.
Why do we have a show cause hearing if the license has expired? If the license has expired, it's expired, right?
They have to come in and file a brand-new
They
application.
would have to start from scratch, yes.
So we're not revoking anything.
No, and I don't think there's any need for this council to take any action with respect to that license because they don't. There's no license pending. The license is expired, so there's no reason to have a show cause hearing with respect to an unexpired, actually an expired license.
Okay.
So, yeah, so I guess in the future, when they expire, they just expire, and that's
Submit all new paperwork.
That's it, they don't have the license anymore. So if they're caught trying to operate without the license, then enforcement action needs to be taken.
Right.
Okay.
So moving on to J, no action on that item? All right. Conduct a show cause hearing to consider, discuss, and act upon the following suspension, revocation, or other sanction regarding the listed holiday sales licenses due to non-renewal or non-compliance with the conditions of renewal. This is for Smithfield Fitness and Speedway 02821. We'll do Smithfield Fitness first? Or you Speedway? We'll do Speedway first.
It was absolutely, well, good evening, council members.
Can you say your
Absolutely.
name and address, please? Thank you.
Eric Pullen, 1 Dix Avenue. They dropped the ball, bottom line. And the license has since been expedited. I have a copy of it here, and it's been renewed for all the way through January of 2025.
Do you have a copy?
Speedway is indeed current now, and they will be going on the June 4th agenda for renewal.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate you coming in.
Sorry to have.
No problem. Smithfield Fitness, anyone from Smithfield Fitness? And this is a repeat offender. Yeah.
It is, and it's unpaid.
License is expired.
Has there been a tax? I know there's been several issues in the past. Has there been a tax issue in the past? Specifically, I don't remember.
It was taxes and retail sales permit issues.
Are they operating now?
Yes.
They need to be closed.
Do you have the
Yes.
number of times?
I'm sorry?
Do you have the number of times by any chance that they've?
Sure, they were present before the council in 20, 21, 22.
And now skip one, got one. They need to be closed.
I've never done a show cause hearing, so how does this work to be?
Well, they're actually operating without a license right now, so I don't even, I mean, we're having a show cause hearing for a license that's already expired.
I mean, and just keep in mind too, it's just a holiday license. It's not a license for the business itself, which we're not regulating, just that holiday end of it.
They can't sell on how, they can't open on how.
Correct. Correct.
How is that enforced?
So what will need to happen is a letter will have to be drafted by the clerk's office, provided to the solicitor for review, and then provided to the police department. They'll have to check on the holidays and see if they're operating. So we have the first one coming up. I think it'd be a great time to check out. They can definitely swing by on Monday to see if they're operating.
Thank you. So no action on this matter as well. Okay, so, all right, moving on to licenses. A, consider, discuss, and act upon approving a new vitrilene license for AJL LLC DBA New England Frozen Lemonade, 3 Austin Avenue, Unit A, as applied, subject to compliance with all state regulations, local ordinances, and certificate of occupancy from the Building and Zoning Officials Office.
So moved.
Seconded.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Item B, consider, discuss, and act upon approving the annual renewal of one massage establishment license as applied, subject to compliance with all state regulations and local ordinances. This is for the Soothing Touch Spa on 180C Pleasant View Ave.
So moved.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item C, consider, discuss, and act upon approving the annual renewal of one massage therapy license as applied, subject to compliance with all state regulations and local ordinances.
So moved.
You want to just do this, same one? Oh, this is for, sorry about that, this is for Rhonda Rohelia, working at Soothing Touch Spa, 180C Pleasant View Avenue.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Item D, consider, discuss, and act upon approving the annual renewal of 2 holiday sales licenses as listed as applied, subject to compliance with all state regulations and local ordinances. This is for DK Convenience and Loft Number, there's no number on it. Premium Brands Opco LLC.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item E, consider, discuss, and act upon the annual renewal of one peddler's license as applied, subject to compliance with all state regulations and local ordinances. This is for A&W to sell Christmas trees, plants, and flowers on Fourth.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Consider, discuss, and act upon approving a request for outdoor seating for Kava Meza Grill LLC, DBA Kava, located at 473 Putnam Pike, Suite A2, subject to compliance with all state regulations, local ordinances, and a letter requesting outdoor seating.
So moved.
Seconded.
Discussion?
This is on the right. I have a feeling there's no one here, right? This is on the right. Isn't there flowers there right now? I can't tell by this. Is it in the front or on the side of the building? It's the front, because they already have a table there.
Yes.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Randy, we gotta check about those bollards over there.
Oh, the bollards.
Oh, yeah.
Councilman, if you want to add to the motion, to state, to review prior to the issuance of the license.
All right.
Or some safety, whether or not it's actual blocks or some form of a
Correct.
vehicular.
Yep, so moved.
Second.
Well, under the new ordinance, if they're going to put in outdoor seating, don't they have to comply with the new ordinance and have, have it raised so high or have bollards or something?
Yeah.
to block the traffic?
That's what I just added.
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item G, consider, discuss, and act upon approving the annual renewal of one mobile food truck license as applied, subject to compliance with all state regulations and local ordinances. This is for Taco Fi, to sell tacos and homemade potato chips from a truck for the RI Reg 85432, 38 Dean Ave, Johnston, Rhode Island.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Item H, consider to discuss and act upon approving one-day special event license for Roots Heaven Farm LLC for a yoga event, 540 Douglas Pike on the following dates: Sunday, June 15, 2024, to be held from 10 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. with a rain date of Saturday, June 22nd, 2024.
So moved.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Oh, would you like to speak on that? Yeah, I'm sorry, come on, I wasn't even looking.
That's a great idea to have a rain date too, with it raining nonstop for months in the state.
I hope it's not going to rain.
Just state your name and address, please.
My name is Cinzia Uriadi, representing Route 7 Farm in 520 Douglas Pike, Smithfield. We are having this beautiful event, yoga event. It's called Pop-Up Yoga. We are going to have throughout the farm 5 different yoga instructors with different type of yoga. We are going to have yoga with goats and yoga at the lavender farm. It's something that actually it's pretty going on this time, and it's in the lavender is relaxing, and with the goat it's pretty funny. And we also, after these classes at 10 of yoga, we're gonna have the sound healing, which is also relaxing, and it's performed with bowls. I never been, but I know that it's relaxing and healing. And after that, whoever wants to stay and snuggle with the goats can stay a little bit more and have some relax in the farm.
That's excellent.
That's all.
That sounds great, that sounds fun.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's cool. Old business, none. New business? Yes. We voted on that, didn't we?
Yes, we did.
Yes.
I'm sorry. It's okay. Sorry. New business, consider, discuss, and act upon authorizing a request for proposals for senior center parking lots.
We didn't. No? Oh, Mike, we.
Senior, I'm sorry, repairs.
You missed I, Mike.
What?
Aye.
Eats.
Oh, sorry.
Skipped over I.
Seltron. Consider, discuss, and act upon approving a new victualling license for Early Eats LLC, DBA Early Eats, 345 Avenue, Unit B, as applied, subject to compliance with all state regulations, local ordinances, final approval from the Rhode Island Department of Health, and a certificate of occupancy from the Building Zoning Officials Office.
So moved.
Seconded.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Old business, there is none. New business, item A, consider, discuss, and act upon authorizing a request for proposals for senior center parking lot repairs.
Good evening. Excuse me. Scarlett Carrero, Director of the Smithfield Senior Center. We're looking to put out a proposal for some paving and some crack sealing in the various parking lots at the senior center, and we're going to be using the Community Development Block Grant to pay for it.
So moved.
Seconded.
Any discussion?
This is all block grant money.
Correct?
Yep. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Item B, consider, discuss, and act upon authorizing a request for proposals for landscape services at 3 school locations subject to town solicitor approval.
Good evening. Angela Mancucci, Smithfield Public Schools. The RFP you have before you is completely grant-funded from RIDE for $141,000. For a top view, RIDE also provided OPM services and architectural services with this grant at no charge. This is for creating outdoor classroom environments subject to growing areas at the schools, such as outdoor plantings. As you may see near Old County Road School, we put something up temporary until this was put in place, and it's happening at all 3 elementary schools.
Excellent.
And the grant is for $141,000.
Okay.
What's the SBA capital fund?
SBA is what RIDE calls their capital fund, the SBA.
So this is state money that's going to be used?
This is correct.
Move passage.
Second.
Any more discussion? Yes, sir. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Item C, consider, discuss, and act upon authorizing a request for proposals for roof replacement at the Department of Public Works, Works Garage.
Good evening, Gene Allen, Director of Public Works. As you recall, I was before you previously to request an RFP. We went out to bid, and the bids came in considerably higher than what we had budgeted. We revised the RFP for a different product or equal, and also looked at the warranty requirements. So that's what's before you this evening.
Thank you.
Move passage.
Second.
Any discussion?
You budgeted, I think, about $60,000 for this? Is that-
125,000.
125,000?
Yeah.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Item D, consider, discuss, and act upon authorizing change order request number 19, number 20, and 21 to J.G. Edwards Construction for Phase 1B renovation work at the East Smithfield Neighborhood Center in the amount not to exceed $5,273.00.
Thank you, Council President. So these 3 change orders are a few small changes that came up as they were in the field. Adding some additional components to the neighborhood center for the overall huge project. These items will be accomplished now under the current contracts with the change order, and then the bigger items will be addressed with that RFP that's on the road right now.
Thank you.
So this is part of the grant money, right?
Yes, sir.
Move passage.
Second.
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item E, consider, discuss, and act upon adopting a resolution to amend the rules of procedure for the Smithfield Town Council, sponsored by Council members Rachel Tabi and Michael Ionati.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is an amendment to our rules of procedure relative to our consideration of third-party proposals. It's introduced as first of all, when we get a proposal from a third party, it would be introduced to the council as a presentation only, after which the council would decide whether to schedule the proposal for a final vote, and whether it should be treated as a regular agenda item or a public hearing. This would allow the town manager and solicitor time to prepare a final plan, which would include performance obligations of the parties, resolution of any legal or insurance issues, the drafting of contracts or memoranda of understanding, and perhaps a detailed analysis of the financial impact of the proposal. This completed package would then be submitted to the council for a final vote at a subsequent meeting. We removed the second sentence of this because it almost, that we originally had in this proposal, because it looked like we wanted an additional meeting when we only want to have this before the council on two occasions. One is the presentation level, and the second thing would be the final vote once the package is completed. Without this, we're in a situation where the town manager doesn't know how we feel about some of these proposals, because we can't discuss them under the Open Meetings Act unless we're at a meeting. And then, you know, he may end up, if we're opposed to it, doing a lot of work for nothing. And the same thing with the town solicitor. So I think this way of proceeding will save us time, and also have us vote, when we do vote, having a more complete package before us when we make that final vote.
I think it's important to have this because we need an organized and fair process for everyone involved, so everyone knows what to expect. It also gives the public time to learn about what's being proposed, and they can have a voice if they wish. For example, from the last meeting, a lot of people have reached out to me after the fact, asking if there was additional, they could voice their concern at maybe a hearing or whatnot. But, so I think this is important.
So I'd move that this amendment be passed.
Second.
I personally am not in favor of this, so I'm gonna vote no on this. This is over government in my mind. I've been on here, it's my 8th year. Randy's done a great job of putting things on the packet, and on the agenda that he feels we can have a discussion about. And if the majority likes it, we accept it. If the majority wants to table it, we table it. And that's, for me, it's been working. Mike, you just mentioned time, and this is what it's going to take. It's going to take time for, I know you said there's not a second meeting, but there's also a public hearing, which could be a 4th meeting. And then it's just, to me,
There wouldn't have to be a public hearing.
I personally think it's too much, and it's my opinion. I just want to say it publicly. Any more discussion?
Yeah, I mean, Randy has to put, the town manager has to put an item on the agenda if requested by a council member. So this also sort of protects, you know, Randy at the town manager's position, because, you know, if there isn't a complete package, then it ultimately, I think, makes him look bad. So it sort of, you know, helps everyone. And, you know, if we have people up here who might not necessarily have known what they needed to bring, they'll now know. So this is really just to make everything more organized and, you know, transparent as far as what we expect to be before us, to make educated decisions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any more discussion?
Tom Hodgkins, 200 Farnham Pike. I also think the council should take into consideration that if this information is not provided in the packet, then it's not anything that the public can review before the meeting and determine whether they have a position on it. There may be information that's given to councilors individually before the meeting, but the public doesn't know about that information. So if this isn't in the packet that's supposed to be published on Friday afternoon, then there's no way for the public to know about it. Thank you.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed?
No.
Nay. Item F is tabled, discussion concerning Greenville Library litigation and financial operations. 12, public comment. If you'd like to get up and speak, leave your name and address at the podium.
Tom Hodgkins, 200 Farnham Pike. I'd like to pick up on that transparency conversation. At the last town council meeting, there was an issue with regards to the school athletic project about the OPM contract that had doubled in price. And the council was given a one-page contract addendum for doubling in that price with no explanation and no invoices on what or whether any invoices had been billed on that. I asked a couple questions during that hearing. I didn't get an answer. One of those questions was, why did the contract double in price? And whether the town or the school department had received invoices for any of the $50,000 in work that was requested. None of the town representatives here, representatives from the school department, including the superintendent, felt the need to answer either of those questions, despite several times being asked by me. I sent an APRA request to the school department and to the town to try to figure out what was going on here. In the documents that were produced, I didn't receive any document that lays out a reason or an explanation for why the contract doubled in price. I got a brief meeting minute that says this is work for the concession stand, but that simply doesn't explain with any sort of satisfaction why the contract would double in price. And the concession stand, from what I understand, actually got smaller than what was planned, not bigger. So why would the contract double in price? With respect to the invoices, representatives that were here refused to answer whether the town had received invoices. The documents I received from the school department indicate that they had received invoices. They had received invoices in October 2023 for extra work, November 2023 for extra work out of contract, December 2023 for extra work out of contract, January 2023 for extra work out of contract, February 2023, or 24, excuse me, for extra work out of contract, March 24 for extra work out of contract, and April 24 for extra work out of contract. This was a work that the school department was seeking approval for at the last meeting to pay these invoices. The invoices show that of the $50,000 increase that was requested at your last council meeting, $43,000 of that had already been billed against it in those invoices. It was never approved by the council. $43,000 has been billed, never approved by the council. And again, no one wanted to answer that question at the last meeting. With respect to the timing of that, the council was told at the last meeting, basically, you have to approve this tonight or the OPM might walk off the job. I think the term used was at risk. The work had already been approved by the school department. They didn't have approval to authorize it, but it had already been approved. I don't know why the OPM would walk off the job. But the town was sent, the contract addendum, the town was on February 9th. I don't see any reason why that contract addendum, which specifically had to do with the concession stand, wasn't put on the February meeting with the no bid $750,000 concession stand. Why not consider those together? There also didn't appear to be any urgency for getting this before the council. There had already been several months of this being billed without being approved by the council. There was also, regardless it wasn't put on the council's agenda in February, there was also a oil subcommittee meeting scheduled for March 7th. On that agenda was supposed to be the $50,000 contract addendum. Why didn't that meeting take place? Well, the emails produced by the town indicate that the superintendent recommended that that meeting not go forward. So if it was so urgent that the council had to vote on it at the meeting, why did that March 7th meeting not go forward? What's also interesting about this email from the superintendent is that it wasn't produced by the school department in response to my APRA request. It was only produced by the town. I guess that must be an oversight. It also, well, I guess when they were searching for their emails, the other person, representative from the school department, also didn't find the email. What a coincidence. When this council allows this type of thing to happen, it's abrogating the council's power, and it's taking a voice away from the voters. It's allowing people, town representatives, who aren't elected, who are unaccountable, and who don't have authority to make decisions that they don't have authority to make. In a couple of weeks, I think the council is going to vote to increase taxes, and I just don't think we can afford to do capital projects like this with an open checkbook. There were similar issues that arose with the bond project for the elementary schools, where the town faced significant change orders at the end of the project. Cost the voters money. I also think the voters should be able to expect a basic level of transparency on capital projects, and the town representatives will be forthcoming on the spending regarding those projects, especially at town meetings. Thank you.
Anyone else like to come up and speak?
Good evening, Jeff LeBlanc, Williams Road. I'd just like to comment on the DEI presentation from tonight. My hope is that if the council takes any of their presentation into consideration moving forward, I hope you can keep in mind the whole history of that task force, its lack of results. You see, I've been attending their meetings regularly for the past 2 years, and I hear a lot of excuses, whether it's the structure that was put in place, that's an excuse, the lack of funding that's put in place. But keeping in mind that this was such an essential group that was put together to do what? They've produced basically no results. And tonight, it almost sounds like they're failing upwards, where instead of being a more focused effort on just 1 or 2 little departments, I think the only part of town government that they didn't mention was assisting to be a liaison for trash removal. It's unbelievable how even just 2 weeks ago, the youth council comes up here and they're able to produce what we've done, what our message is, and here's our body of work. But when it comes to, again, their words, such important work over the past couple of years, they've yielded no results whatsoever. A former member of the task force, I believe he was the representative from Gallagher Middle School, Mr. Burns, before he left the district, just outside in the parking lot after one of the workshops, I kind of challenged him further into saying, you need to, if you want to quiet cynics like me, you need to show results. I said, because otherwise it just seems like virtue signaling. And he at least had the honesty and the candor to say, that's kind of part of the purpose of this, is the virtue signaling to other people. Our existence, not results, not difference in the town, our existence is the only thing that matters. Now, if their existence is the only thing that matters, then by all means, put them tied to the town government forever. But I don't think that that's actually representative of the town as a whole, never mind just the majority of people within this town. I think DEI is a failed experiment. We're seeing a shift nationwide. And if we make the mistake of, God forbid, funding an equity audit in town, I mean this slightly tongue-cheek, but I think you'll understand what I mean. You're basically bringing in a professional race hustler to look underneath this town that they don't know, under a microscope, whose lens is strictly race and gender. Now, I think the country as a whole, and even our town, has made legitimate progress historically. And the way that we did that wasn't by changing the lens. It wasn't changing the focus of the lens to stop looking through race and gender, because the focus of the lens isn't the problem. The lens is the problem. So now we're just looking to what? Pay someone to come in, again, and just create more problems. I think that's a door, as soon as you open it up, you're really going to regret ever having even entertained the possibility of doing it. The push for privatization for a DEI or an inclusion and equity group was pushed by Town Manager Rossi the past few meetings for the DEI last year. I think that benefits them as a whole. They're free to do whatever they choose with whoever they choose. They're not restricted by the laws, which admittedly so, they haven't always followed over the past couple of years. Some of the work that they've done outside of the task force meetings were never voted on, so it was almost rogue projects. And again, they can plead ignorance to it, but ignorance is not an excuse when you're tied to local government. Because again, going back to the transparency conversation we were just having, we as taxpayers in this town have a right to know what's going on. And they haven't always afforded us the opportunity to keep a watchful eye, which myself and other people have been doing over the past couple of years. So again, I really hope that the push is to privatize this group. Mr. Dorsey did a very good job presenting. This is not personal to him. He's a good man of character. I can disagree with Stan. I probably will if we live in the same town for the rest of our lives, but I'll do it respectfully. All the other people not all, some of the other members of the group have not always operated in the same way. And my fear is that you're just going to get more of the same. We're going to start seeing the ironic lack of respect, inclusion, and equity moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's right behind her. Just noticed. Good evening, everyone. Kenneth Souza, 2 Williams Road. I actually had no intention of coming up today, but then something I heard kind of forced me to kind of have this conversation. First of all, Council President, I appreciate your comment, and I'm going to kind of talk about that a little bit. You know, I don't want to get, I'm not a big political kind of person, but we've seen capital projects at every single level in our country go awry, especially the debacle in Rhode Island, where in July, the bridge passed inspection, and then in December, without any lightning bolt or boat hitting it, it needs to be replaced. Thank God the deck didn't fall, otherwise we'd have a situation in other cities. I've been on the bad side of getting insulted and blocked of information that I asked for with the same kind of obscurity that the gentleman to my right has done. We all went on a meeting a few weeks ago, a month ago, whatever it was, to the 2 schools. It was interesting. It was interesting. And a lot of the things I saw there, because you're going to see a proposal, you already have seen it, about the capital issues that we have in this town. I think transparency is a big part of it. I think rushing through things is a big part of it. I appreciate the vote that you just took a little while ago, but sometimes things have to slow down a little bit to make sure we're making the right decisions. We're not talking about buying paper clips. We're talking about capital projects. I don't have a lot of history with it, but if you allow me some time, I'll dig up some history about some of the things that have happened in this town with capital projects. We need to slow it down. We can only do so much as the Budget and Financial Review Board. We can't do everything. But what I see sometimes is, okay, why are we spending that now? And we have these very deliberate discussions, trust me, and you're going to hear those discussions in about a week when we meet, and I hope there's a back and forth about the amount of work that my comrades did, because it was a lot of work and there were a lot of tough decisions this year amidst a bunch of stuff that's going on in the State House. So I'm a little concerned because we got a huge capital negative going on in terms of projects, and we've tried to help. Randy knows that, and the town manager has done a great job, and anytime somebody comes to us and says we need this and they explain the reason, I can't remember a situation where we said no. Fire department comes to us, we do it. We try to do it. The police department comes to us because we want people safe and we want our town good. So I'm a little concerned about what happened today because fiscal prudence means fiscal prudence. With all due respect, each of you and me took an oath of a fiduciary responsibility. I teach it. It's an important legal thing that we have to do. You have to treat the money as if it's your own. And I think that's an important concept in our society, in business, and in government. We need to do that. One last thing, and it came up because of this whole discussion. One thing that's bothered me at the high school, that's not the high school, it's the school in the front, is that additional area that looks like a picnic area, if you know what I'm talking about, in front of the building. I'm not a building code guy, but I went and walked there. There are picnic tables there. I know there's some gardening stuff there as well, but there are also some picnic tables. Can I ask a tough question? I know people don't like my tough questions sometimes. There are no barriers to that area. And I've brought this up and I've gotten dismissed. I'm worried about a car or a truck. that could be driving purposefully or not purposefully. I know, Council, you've because of the subway incident, you've been very good at that. I'm a little concerned whether that passed code, because it's so close to the road, and on the other side where there's some parking spaces. It's that little corner, kind of, but I remember going there because I thought somebody said it was only gardening, but it's not just gardening. There are picnic tables there, so that means people are going to sit there, and even if it was gardening, somebody's going to do it, obviously, I have a feeling.
Yeah, I've been talking to Anthony and a few folks about going back and looking at current buildings, not new construction.
Right.
Because if you look over the past couple of weeks, we've had some major issues in other cities and towns. I don't want it to happen
I don't
here.
want it to happen here either.
You know, we already lost one life. That's enough. That's too many.
Too many.
So I'm in the process of talking to Anthony and the building official about going back and looking at other areas where we could make it safer.
I'm just not sure how that passed code, and I'm not.
Can I just ask the question? I'd probably give you a real quick answer. Are you talking to Pleasant View?
Yes, I never know.
Elementary.
Yes, that little corner area.
It was never inspected by us or requested by us, so that's why it's passed code, because it was never communicated to anybody from the town. So I'm glad you're saying this, and we'll take a look at it tomorrow.
Because it's bothered me. Everybody
What side
walks.
of the school are we talking about, Mr. Souza?
It's that corner that where you make the U-turn.
On the side of
I think the problem is usually somebody's right on my tail when I'm pulling in there, and I probably don't get the chance to see it. So I will see that first thing. Well, actually, I'll see it on the way home, and we'll address it tomorrow. But I can tell you, it wasn't.
I just don't want our kids and our teachers and our staff to be hurt. You go there, it looks very vulnerable, and the curbings are not very far, and the driving path is not very far from that area. I do not want to see anybody hurt or killed.
Why don't we inspect all the schools? Why do we need an invitation? We don't want to wait for an invitation. Let's inspect all of them because our kids are out there, and we don't want anything to happen.
Well, it's not only the schools. There's like today we approved outdoor seating for the restaurant. I mean, that's a busy plaza. You know, and I have coffee every morning at Fast Freddy's, and I know some days whether somebody's going to come through that window or not. There may be somebody sitting to my left that's not paying attention, gunning it, and then I may be a statistic. So going back, I mean, everybody's got issues. Well, we can't tell businesses that they have to do it. Yes, we can. How much is a life worth? How much is it worth?
Well, we can end off on that gloom. Motion to adjourn.